In modern life, anxiety and overthinking have almost become a silent illness that anyone can suffer from. Even when we live in a safe home, have enough food, and are supported by advanced technology, our minds are still frequently torn by invisible worries. We worry about work, health, the future, our loved ones. Sometimes, we cannot even name the source of our anxiety. We just feel a racing heart, a fatigued mind, and restless sleep. Why is it so easy for humans to fall into anxiety? The Buddha, with his timeless wisdom, pointed out that the root of anxiety lies in attachment and delusion. Our minds refuse to stay in the present and instead run toward the past or project into the future. The mind fabricates all kinds of scenarios, things that haven't happened, and then reacts to them as if they were real. This is suffering born from the mind itself. The Buddha once said, "The mind precedes all things. It rules and shapes all." When the mind is not tamed, it behaves like a monkey jumping endlessly, swinging from the past to the future. In that state, we lose our grounding and the ability to fully experience life as it is happening now. Thus, even in peaceful moments, we may still suffer from things that have never occurred. Anxiety often does not arise from the actual situation, but from how we think about it. Two people can go through the same event. One remains calm, the other becomes distressed. The difference lies not in the external world, but in the inner world. Therefore, the solution the Buddha offers is not to change our circumstances, but to transform our minds. He taught us to practice mindfulness, being awake in each moment, to bring the mind back to the present. When we can clearly see what is happening right now, without adding stories or judgments, we realize that most of our worries are just mental fabrications. The very mind that creates anxiety is also the mind that can heal if we learn to look deeply and return to ourselves. One of the common mistakes people make when dealing with anxiety is trying to resist it. We want to push it away, deny its presence, or quickly seek immediate solutions to soothe the mind. But the more we resist, the stronger anxiety becomes. It's like trying to push a ball underwater. The resistance only makes it bounce back more forcefully. The Buddha did not advise suppressing emotions. Instead, he taught us to look directly at them with mindfulness and compassion. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on the four foundations of mindfulness, he taught, contemplate the body in the body, feelings in feelings, mind in mind, and phenomena in phenomena. When we practice proper meditation, we neither identify with anxiety nor judge it. We simply acknowledge, this is a feeling of anxiety arising in me. That recognition is like a kind friend, gently embracing the fear, not pushing it away, not indulging it. Being compassionate with ourselves is the first step toward healing. Instead of criticizing ourselves for being weak or sensitive, we can whisper to ourselves like a loving mother, "I am feeling anxious." And that's okay. It's part of being human. That acceptance softens the tight grip within. Anxiety is not an enemy, it's a voice from deep inside, reminding us that something within hasn't been heard or understood. The Buddha never said life would be free from suffering. He pointed out that suffering is part of life, but if we look deeply, wisdom can be found within it. There's a lesson hidden in anxiety. Perhaps it's a signal that we're living too far from the present moment, or that our minds are being pulled by illusions. When we stop, breathe deeply, and listen to our body and mind, even in the midst of anxiety, a door to awakening begins to open. And in the Dhammapada, the Buddha once said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." These words are not meant to discourage, but to return to us our power and responsibility. Even with teachings, and with wise friends, unless we turn inward and practice ourselves, anxiety will remain an endless loop. Anxiety is not merely an emotion, it's a state of deluded mind. A continuous stream of what-ifs that have not yet occurred. The mind becomes entangled in imagined scenarios, filled with insecurity, often without any real foundation. This mental habit causes us to lose touch with the present, the only place where life truly happens. The Buddha often emphasized the power of the present moment. In the Dhammapada, he taught, the past is gone, the future has not yet come, only the present is real. But why is it so difficult to remain in the present? Because our minds are untrained. They jump around like a monkey swinging from branch to branch, an image the Buddha himself once used. Meditation is not about escaping anxiety, it's about understanding its nature. When we sit down and quietly observe our breath, we are training the mind to stop running. Each breath becomes an anchor, pulling us back to the body and back to the present moment. Anxiety lives in what has not yet happened, while the breath only exists here and now. The very moment we become aware of a full breath, we step out of the whirlpool of overthinking. There is a vital practice in Buddhism called mindfulness of thoughts. It doesn't mean suppressing thoughts by force, it means recognizing when the mind is being pulled away by them. When we can say, this is a thought that's pulling me far, that very recognition is a step toward freedom. No need to fight it. No need to follow it, just see it clearly. That is the beginning of liberation. Anxiety often arises from non-acceptance of ourselves, of our circumstances. We believe we're not good enough, haven't done enough, haven't achieved something we think we must. But according to the Buddha, suffering does not arise from the external world, it comes from how we react to it. When the mind knows contentment, when it accepts things as they are, peace naturally arises. The remarkable truth is, we don't need to change the world outside, we just need to change our inner view. The Buddha did not teach us to escape life, but to see life with the eyes of wisdom. And when we truly see that anxiety is just a cloud, not the sky itself, we are no longer afraid. The cloud may be dark and heavy, but it will pass. The sky, our peaceful, innate nature, remains ever present, untouched by storms. One of the major challenges when facing anxiety is the feeling of losing control. The mind becomes like a boat without a sail, without direction, tossed around by the waves. The lack of mindfulness, the absence of a steady course to return to, draws us deeper into the endless whirlpool of overthinking. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is the path to liberation from suffering. It is the light in the darkness of ignorance. Mindfulness is not just the focus on the present moment, but also the clear awareness of ourselves, of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. When we begin to practice mindfulness, every moment becomes an opportunity to return to ourselves. In a world where everything is constantly changing, a world full of challenges and uncertainties, learning to live firmly in the present moment is essential. Mindfulness teaches us not to change the external circumstances, but to change how we respond to them. When the mind knows enough, when the mind is at peace with what it has, we no longer get caught up in baseless anxieties. The Buddha also emphasized the impermanence of all things. When we realize that nothing is permanent, that no anxiety lasts forever, we become much lighter. Thoughts about the future, worries about tomorrow, are simply fleeting phenomena. They are just ripples on the still surface of the mind. Everything will pass, and when we don't cling to it, we will find peace. One of the key teachings of the Buddha is letting go. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning life. It means letting go of unnecessary thoughts, emotions, and attachments. When we no longer cling to the past or the future, our minds become much freer. Only by letting go can we truly live in each moment without being controlled by anxiety. Buddhism also emphasizes that overcoming anxiety requires practice and patience. Change in the mind doesn't happen overnight, but with persistence, with each day's effort, we gradually transform anxiety into wisdom and peace. With every breath, every mindful step, our minds become steadier, no longer swept away by the waves of anxiety. The Buddha once told the story of a man who was shot with a poisoned arrow. When he was taken to a physician, he insisted on knowing what the arrow was made of, who shot it, the background of the archer, and many other details before allowing the arrow to be removed. While he was caught up in these useless questions, the poison seeped deeper into his body, and death became inevitable. This story is a metaphor for many of us when faced with anxiety. Instead of focusing on healing, we become entangled in questions, analysis, and endless speculation. We want to know why we suffer, who caused it, what will happen next, whether we can control it all. And in doing so, we forget the most important thing: to remove the arrow and begin the healing from within. The Dharma does not encourage us to escape pain, but it also does not let us drown in it. The Buddha taught that understanding suffering is the first step toward peace. When we can look at our anxiety with a non-judging mind, without trying to push it away or control it, it naturally begins to dissolve, just as we allow a wave to pass instead of trying to suppress it. Anxiety too will come and go if we do not cling to it. In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha clearly stated that suffering is a part of life, but there is a path out of suffering. That path does not lie in eradicating anxiety or thought altogether, but in transforming our relationship with them. We do not need to become emotionless. We simply learn to see anxiety as a cloud in the sky coming and going, not our true self. Through mindfulness and compassion, we gradually develop an inner space where the mind is no longer fused with every thought or emotion. We no longer say, "I am anxious," but instead recognize anxiety is arising. This small shift brings great freedom because we are no longer victims of our own minds. The Dharma helps us cultivate awareness and steadiness in every breath, every step. When we know how to return to our body and mind, we no longer get lost in the maze of thinking. And when the light of mindfulness is lit, the darkness of anxiety begins to fade. One of the foundational methods the Buddha taught to deal with anxiety is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not a forceful attempt to stop the mind, but the capacity to be aware of what is happening in the present moment with gentleness and without judgment. When we sit down and breathe in and out consciously, we create a safe space within a place where anxiety is no longer the master, but simply a passing guest. Many people, when overwhelmed by anxiety, try to think their way out of it. But paradoxically, the more we think, the more exhausted our minds become, and the deeper the anxiety grows. The Dharma teaches us that not all problems need to be solved by thinking. Some only need to be embraced with awareness, just as we hold a crying child without needing to ask questions. Our true presence alone can calm the pain. In the Heart Sutra, the Buddha teaches, form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. All phenomena, including anxiety, have no fixed essence. They arise and fall depending on conditions. When we see this emptiness, fear dissolves, because if anxiety is a dependent phenomenon, it can also fade when its causes fade. We don't need to fight it, we only need to look deeply into it. Someone might ask, "I've been practicing, but the anxiety is still there. What should I do?" The Buddha would smile and say, "Keep going. Seeds need time to sprout." In the journey of transformation, what matters is not immediate results, but perseverance and kindness toward ourselves. Every time we sit down and breathe mindfully, we water the seed of peace. Even if just a little, our mind is already changing. The Dharma does not promise to make anxiety disappear overnight, but it offers a path where each step, each breath, is an opportunity to heal. It is a path that does not avoid suffering, but learns to walk through it with the eyes of wisdom and the heart of compassion. In the suttas, the Buddha often used the image of drifting clouds to describe states of mind. Anxiety is like a cloud, at times thick and dark, seemingly covering the entire sky. But in truth, it only passes by. The blue sky is never lost because of the clouds. Likewise, the peace inherent in our minds is never gone, merely temporarily obscured by thoughts and worries. The key is not to identify with these clouds. When negative thoughts arise, instead of saying, "I am anxious," practice noticing, "There is a feeling of anxiety present in me." This small shift in awareness holds great transformative power. We are no longer drowning in the emotion, but standing at a gentle distance, observing, understanding, and then releasing. Meditation is not an effort to become someone better, but a return to who we truly are in stillness, clarity, and wholeness. when we sit in meditation, we learn to recognize every stream of thought that passes. But without following it, we don't get carried away. We don't judge. We don't claim. This is the freedom the Buddha called inner liberation. Sometimes anxiety arises from the past wounds that haven't healed, words we can't forget. Sometimes it comes from the future scenarios we imagine but may never come to pass. But the present, the only place where life is truly happening, is often forgotten. The Buddha emphasized that returning to the present is the key, not through forced effort, but through the breath, simple, yet miraculous. One deep in breath, one gentle out breath, and we are home. The true home of the soul is not somewhere distant, but right where we are breathing and present. There is no pressure to be perfect, no expectation to control everything, only pure presence. This is meditation, the path that leads us back to ourselves, through all layers of anxiety and mental delusion. In one of his teachings, the Buddha told the story of a man struck by a poisoned arrow. Instead of allowing others to remove it, the man insisted on knowing who shot it, from which direction, what kind of bow was used, and why he was targeted. Meanwhile, the poison spread through his body, and his life slowly faded. This story is a profound metaphor for the human mind, especially for those who tend to overthink. We are struck by emotional wounds, harsh words, or disappointing circumstances. Instead of healing, we become consumed with analyzing, justifying, identifying culprits, or even blaming ourselves. All the while, the poison of anger, fear, and anxiety silently seeps in. The Buddha did not dismiss the importance of understanding, but taught that true wisdom is the kind that knows when to let go, to remove the arrow first, then contemplate if necessary. We don't need all the answers in order to live peacefully. In truth, many questions are just the mind's way of avoiding real feelings. Sometimes, knowing too much becomes the very source of suffering. Peace doesn't come from figuring everything out, but from accepting what is unknown, like cool water flowing quietly over stones, without needing to analyze the nature of each one. In modern life, where information overwhelms and expectations of self grow heavier, our minds are easily caught in a cycle of constant activity. Sleepless nights, waking up to a vague sense of worry, all are symptoms of a restless, untrained mind. The Buddha taught that no enemy is more ruthless than the uncontrolled thoughts within one's own heart. Thus, mindfulness practice is not a form of escape, but a return, like a long-lost child coming back to an old home. Each conscious breath, each grounded step in the present moment is a quiet declaration: I choose peace. And in those moments, we begin to peel away the layers of armor the mind has worn for years, until all that remains is stillness and authenticity. One of the Buddha's key teachings is that of dependent origination, the understanding that all things arise in dependence upon other things. Nothing exists independently, and nothing lasts forever. When we worry or overthink, the mind clings to something, an assumption, a hope for outcome, or a fear of loss. But when we deeply understand dependent origination, we see that what we fear today has no inherent self, no fixed identity, and is always changing. Like a cloud in the sky, whether dark or glowing, it will pass. So too with anxiety, it is not me, not mine. When we mindfully observe our worry, without judging or resisting it, we take a great step out of ignorance. The Buddha taught that it is in the moment of recognition, without attachment, that wisdom arises. We don't need to forcefully eradicate anxiety as an enemy, but simply sit quietly, breathe in, breathe out, and gently smile to ourselves. I am here. Many people believe that they must resolve all problems before they can practice. But the truth is, practice becomes most powerful in the midst of difficulty. The Buddha did not wait for life to be perfect before attaining enlightenment. He sat under the Bodhi tree amidst temptations and trials, and it was in that stillness that he saw the nature of suffering clearly. We are no different. We don't need to wait until our anxiety disappears to meditate, read the Dharma, or live mindfully. Step into this moment with the worry still present, but with a mind that knows it's there. Let your practice be a peaceful refuge in the storm, not a place of escape, but a place of return. Like a small lamp, it may not banish the darkness of ignorance all at once, but it lights the first step forward. In the light of the Dharma, we no longer see anxiety as a burden to escape, but as an opportunity to return to ourselves. The Buddha did not teach us to eliminate all fear, but to recognize and understand its nature. Because in that very recognition, fear ceases to be a frightening ghost and becomes a teacher reminding us to return to the present moment, to the breath, and to mindfulness. He once taught, "The mind precedes all things. The mind is their chief. They are made by the mind. If the root of anxiety lies in the mind, then the solution also lies there." Instead of being swept away by spirals of thought, we can sit quietly, look deeply, and realize it's not circumstances that cause suffering, but how we relate to them. A thought arises, we notice it. A feeling of unease emerges, we acknowledge it. That's all. But in that simplicity lies a profound transformation. We don't need to become someone else. We don't need to reach a perfect state to find peace. Peace can be present in this very breath. In this moment, when you let go of the idea, "I must be in control," and return to the unfolding of life. The Buddha did not promise a paradise after death, but showed us how to end suffering here and now through insight, mindfulness, and compassion. If today you feel caught in an endless loop of worry, please know that you are not alone. Millions of others are also wrestling with the invisible waves of the mind. But you have a lamp within, a seed of awareness waiting to be awakened. The Buddha is not far away. He is present in every breath you take. In every moment you return to yourself. And though the path to inner freedom may seem long, you have already begun with the first recognition, with the trust that there is a way out, not a way out of life, but out of illusion and ignorance. When you truly see this, anxiety is no longer a prison, but becomes the doorway that leads you home.